Tonight, the cost of defense and the economics of Hollywood. We'll talk to General Tom Wilkerson, the former commander of the Marine Forces Reserve. And later, Doug Liman, the film director who gave us The Bourne Identity. I'm Mike Schneider, and this is Night Talk. Pleasure and an honor for us to have you here,
Thanks,
sir.
Mike. I'm glad to be here.
We are living, needless to say, in interesting times.
Oh, my, indeed.
And we're trying to figure out how safe we are, what we need to remain safe or make ourselves safer, and how we spend our precious resources, both in the young people who go into the service to protect us and the money that we spend to equip them and to defend ourselves. So we've got a lot to talk to you about right now. But as we started off, let's address our current situation right now. Should Americans be confident about being safe in the world right now?
I think that's an open question. We've had, what, 2,000 or 3,000 days of safety since 9/11, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, there are lots of challenges around for us, and I think it's a case where what we really have to do is have confidence in our leaders that they're going to keep us safe and that they're doing things that resonate with us. Let me start. It's an easy thing to start with. When you look at what we're doing these days, one of the things that comes to mind right away is America's a bit disconnected from the military force that defends it. And that's not necessarily a good thing, and it might not continue. It's one of those things where for 7 years we say we've been at war, but really the military's been at war.
We don't feel it here, we don't see it here.
America's been at the mall until recently, and now America's at home wondering if they're going to keep their job and if they're going to make their house payment on time. Well, that's counter to the history of the United States. We're a culture of citizen soldiers. We're engaged with those who defend and write blank checks, including their life. That's a different thing.
Yeah. So what do we do to address that in a way that makes sense? I mean, we're living in a time right now where we're told, as we go to tape on this program, we hear that the Brits are about to pull virtually all of their forces out of Iraq.
That's right.
I think leave maybe 300 or 400 there. We have an agreement to keep our people there for another 3 years, I believe, and no more, although we may be pulling out of the cities back to, staging areas or bases after that as well. Are we moving in the right direction?
I think we have to look at ourselves differently than we've done before. There's a bumper sticker. Andy Basovich wrote a book recently, and in it he said 3 things that seem to resonate with me. We go to war too often, and we stay a little bit longer than we should. We spend more than we make, and we're not necessarily governing ourselves very well. Well, when we look at the way we're going to war since World War II, there have been no declarations. We have not engaged the American people in what was going on. And the end result is, whether a Democrat or a Republican, we've had a common cause of advancing the cause of democracy in the world, defending us against our enemies, and we've gone to Panama, and to Korea, and to Vietnam, and to Haiti, and to Kosovo, and to Somalia. And if you were the CEO of a corporation or an outside director, and you watched the time, talent, treasure, lives lost for the gain of reaching that goal that we've espoused, you might want to fire all those guys. You might want to find somebody else to do it, because in the process of all of those wars, all those conflicts, undeclared, we've expended a huge amount of capital. People don't like us any better today, and we need to think about that. I think the best way to look at it is if we were growing up in the last century, as America began to feel the might and the power of our economy and of our people and the spirit of Americans that made us what we are, then in this century we have to decide, what are you going to do when you are grown up? Are you going to treat people equally? And are you going to be good to your allies? Are you going to be a trusted member of the international community?
And I would surmise that from the questions you're posing, you'd say, we haven't, and we're not, and no.
I would say that if you were to listen to the words that come from other places, you would say no. That's exactly right. And it's not necessarily a good thing, because it's a bipolar thing. If people turn around and say, well, how do you feel about Mike and the people that live in his community and the other Americans? They'll say, they're nice people. I like seeing them. They come to my country. They try to be nice folks. Well, how do you feel about America, the country, the United States? I don't like them.
Yeah, we like the people, we don't like the government or the policies.
And it's the same thing. It's a bipolar view of the United States military. On the one hand, they're the people who rescue folks, to send the hospital ship Hope to South America, who help children when they're hurt, and who do things like disaster relief in Indonesia and in Katrina in New Orleans.
Humanitarian efforts.
Humanitarian efforts around the world that nobody, this is important, nobody else could have done except the United States military. Yet, on the other hand, they're the guys who are accused of killing innocent civilians in war and doing all these other things.
Well, let's talk more about that and how we do something about that as well. We'll take our first break and back with General Wilkerson in a moment. Don't go away.